She was always there. Since we were kids, we shared everything: gum, notebooks, secrets, and early heartbreaks. She cried over boys, and I silently wished she'd cry only into my chest. I fell in love with her back when I didn't even know what love meant. It was simple. The world felt brighter with her in it. Without her, nothing felt right. I kept thinking I had time, that someday she'd just know, that there'd be a moment, after college, after life happened, when she'd see it, that I wouldn't even have to say a word. She'd look at me and understand. But then she told me she was getting married. To him, wealthy, confident, a stranger. I disappeared.
No Goodbye, no explanation.
Because saying I love you that day wouldn't have been a confession. It would have been pressure. If I spoke up then, it wouldn't be about love. It would be about me. And she was glowing. She was flying. She had no room for me. She didn't even notice I wasn't at the wedding. And I had been invited as a friend. She was lost in that love she believed in so blindly. He showered her with compliments, expensive gifts, promises he'd never loved anyone the way he loved her. What happened next I didn't see, but I heard. Through mutual friends, photos, stories. From the outside it looked perfect. But I knew it was all a performance. Then one day the truth came out. Not one affair, dozens. Other women, children, entire families. Her husband wasn't some ideal, he was a manipulator. A man who didn't build relationships, just systems that served him. At first, there were only doubts. Glances that didn't match the words. Deleted messages. Late nights blamed on business meetings. Eventually, it became too much to ignore. She hired a private investigator. He did his job well. Photos, addresses, women's names hidden under fake contacts, statements, even birth certificates. She sat there, flipping through page after page in silence. And then, something inside her just broke. Quietly, irrevocably, because when an illusion shatters, there's no sound. It doesn't explode, it falls, like an empty glass tipping over in a quiet room. I was sitting in my chair, half watching something on TV, when the phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't want to answer. I hadn't felt like talking to anyone for a while, but something inside me stirred. I tapped accept. "Hi," she said. "Mark, is that you?" My heart skipped a beat. "Yeah."
Y Anna.
I had no idea why she'd think of me after all these years of silence. But her voice, familiar, slightly trembling, broke through everything. And suddenly I felt warm. That kind of warmth you only feel when you hear someone who used to be part of your everyday. "I'm sorry for calling out of the blue," she said quietly. "I didn't know who else to talk to. I needed someone. You were always my best friend." She spoke slowly. Her voice wasn't the same. It was fragile, stripped of the confidence I remembered. Like the words were hard to say, but staying silent had become harder. "What's wrong?" I asked gently, barely breathing, afraid to break the fragile bridge that had suddenly reappeared between us. She started to talk. About him, the betrayal, the divorce. Not all of it. Bits and pieces. Disconnected, tangled. I listened, gripped the phone tighter than I meant to. I didn't interrupt. Just listened, like back in school when she cried after some other guy broke her heart. Back then, I stayed quiet because I didn't know what to say. Now, because I didn't want her to stop talking. Because I needed to hear her voice. That voice I'd missed. That voice I still knew by heart. "I didn't know who else to call," she said again. "Can we meet?" I heard how hard it was for her to ask. Her voice was weak, but in it, I heard something I hadn't heard in years need. For me. And in that moment, something stirred in my chest. A slow, warm flicker. Something I thought I'd buried long ago. I knew she was hurting, that her world was falling apart. But still, I felt a quiet joy, a selfish joy, that I'd get to see her again, that she was coming back into my life. And I felt ashamed for feeling that way, but I couldn't stop it, because hope doesn't die. It just hides, waiting for a call. "Yeah," I said. "Anytime." We met that same evening. Just a quiet restaurant on the edge of town. Not for romance, but for conversation. Anna looked tired. Not angry, not broken, just deeply tired. She sat across from me and didn't speak at first. Her fingers touched the edge of a napkin, traced the rim of her glass. She was nervous. I could see it. Then she began to speak, briefly, calmly, to the point. I listened in silence. Didn't ask questions. Didn't interrupt. Just let her talk. After she told me about everything she'd been through in that marriage, she looked at me. "You're a lawyer, right? You could help me?" I paused. "I could, but I won't. It wouldn't be fair." "Why not?" "Because I wouldn't be objective. I'm too close to this. But I know someone I trust like I trust myself. I'll stay close. Promise. Just let him take the lead." She nodded. "Okay, if that's what you think is best." Then she looked at me more closely. Her voice softened. "Are you with someone now? I mean, really with someone?" "No. No one. No halfway things. No one in my heart, no one in my days." She looked away, and for the first time that night she smiled. Just a little, barely there. And in that moment, something tightened in my chest. Like the world warmed up for a second. Like a small patch of sky opened above me. One I thought was gone for good. It wasn't a promise. Just a flicker. But it was enough to make me breathe a little deeper. We stayed for another hour. Just talking. About everything. No tension. No roles. Just like we used to. The next day, we met in my friend Garrett's office. He wasn't just a lawyer, he was a shark in a suit. In court, people didn't argue with him. They waited for him to finish. He was feared and respected by allies and opponents alike. Garrett was a legend, even if he'd never admitted himself. Anna brought everything the private investigator had found. Photos, copies, witness statements. Everything she needed to shatter the illusion of the perfect husband. Garrett looked through it all silently. Then he looked up with the faintest smirk. "With this kind of ammo, I'm gonna carve this guy like a Thanksgiving turkey and leave him the bill for the napkins." The divorce went fast. Garrett did what he always did, flawlessly. He didn't just handle the case. He laid it out so cleanly, the court didn't even ask questions. Anna walked away with more than she expected. But more importantly, for the first time in a long time, she felt strong and free. I stayed close the whole time, just there.
No speeches.
No big gestures. Sometimes, she'd touch my arm, almost like she didn't mean to. Her fingers would brush my sleeve for just a second, but that second stayed with me for hours. It was in those small, quiet gestures, the kind that say more than any words ever could, that I started to feel something shift. We met again a few days after the divorce. No reason, no plans, just dinner. She smiled effortlessly, genuinely, like she used to. Her eyes were glowing again. Those same eyes I remembered from school. A little dreamy, warm, and real. "Thank you, Mark," she said softly. "I couldn't have done this without you." There was something in her voice, a tenderness that reached deeper than any "I love you" ever could. "I didn't do much," I said, a little unsure, but gently. "I was just there." She fell quiet for a moment, then looked me right in the eyes. There was a quiet fear in her gaze, but beneath it, hope. "You know, I've thought about telling you this for a long time. Back when we were teenagers, I used to wait for some kind of sign, a word, a step in my direction. I felt there was something between us, but I was never sure. And then one day, I saw you with a girl. She was laughing. You were holding her hand, and something inside me just collapsed. I decided there was never going to be an us, that it was better to stay silent and have you as a friend than to speak and lose you forever." I lowered my eyes, then reached into my pocket and pulled out an old, faded photo. It was us, still kids. She had her hand on my arm, and we were both laughing wide open. I placed it on the table in front of her. She froze. "I've loved you, always," I said. I just never said it out loud. I didn't think I had the right to ruin what we had, or what you had, and I thought if I ever told you, that would be the end of everything. So I chose to stay silent, because it meant I could still be near you. She didn't say anything at first. She just reached out and touched my hand. Her fingers found mine again, this time, not by accident. Then she slowly leaned in and kissed me, soft, but full of everything. Everything we lost, everything we held on to, and everything waiting ahead. "You're an idiot, Mark," she whispered, smiling through it. A smile filled with so much tenderness, I nearly closed my eyes. "I know," I said quietly. "I know that now. You could have just said something. One word. A glance. I wasn't afraid of your answer. I was afraid there wouldn't be a place for me after it. And when you started planning your wedding, when you were glowing like that, I thought I'd already lost you. I wanted to be with you, but then I saw you with that girl. She was beautiful, confident, and I thought I was too late. That was my cousin, Anna. If only you'd asked. She laughed, through tears, and then she just hugged me, like she used to, back when we were kids, when she'd bury her face in my chest and didn't need to explain a thing. But this time it wasn't as a friend. Sometimes, to find happiness together, you have to go through silence, losses, and confessions that come too late. But if even one person doesn't give up, the other will find their way back. Because the real things, they don't vanish. They just wait.